Hey, welcome. I'm Pam Lundell again with our wonderful guest for the May Ministry of the Month here at KTIS, none other than Wings for Widows. It's Chris Bentley, founder of Wings for Widows, and you guys have a special place in my heart. First of all, welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Pam. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yes, and I have a podcast called A Widow's Heart, and you gallantly came forward. I think it was about a year ago, right when we were kicking off that podcast, and said we would love to
Yes.
sponsor A Widow's Heart. And what better sponsor than Wings for Widows? And can you just tell our friends who might not know anything about you what you do and how it all started, Chris?
Well, sure. Happy to. Thank you. It started in 2017, actually, with the loss of a colleague at Ameriprise, where I was a financial advisor at the time. And suddenly he passed away of a heart attack, and I inherited his family, including his spouse, Leanne. Leanne and I formed a special relationship that year as we were tending to her financial needs and working through her transition. At the end of that year almost, she asked if I would meet with some of her grief share friends that they were still dealing with financial issues even years after their loss. And of course I accepted the invitation. And when I met with these women, I learned very quickly that there there were so many unanswered questions that they had, and we laughed and we cried, and about 3 hours later I promised to find them some help, some pro bono help. There were even a couple of ladies there that had financial advisors, and I thought that was strange that they were still struggling as well after all this time. Well, after a couple of weeks of searching, there were no pro bono outfits. There was no help, trusted help to be found.
Oh, that's
um,
so important too. Trusted help.
Trusted help, exactly. And so it was like decision time. It's like, well, I could do something about it, or I could talk about it, I could pray about it, or I could actually pick up the ball and run with it. So I did, and we launched in January of 2018,
Mhm.
and so this is our 6th year of operation, and I can't believe we're already 6 years down the road.
Well, I have to tell you, I mean, I'm so excited that there is such an organization as Wings for Widows, and I have recommended many of my widow friends because that's my ministry. That's why the podcast is called A Widow's Heart. I lost my husband many years ago, but I remember coming out of the fog and the grief. One of my main concerns was, luckily, the situation wasn't bad, but I didn't want to be taken advantage of financially. And that's where you come in. You're not trying to sell something or take their money. I know you even work with people in bankruptcy.
And that's correct. We do not charge for any of our services, whether it's one-on-one coaching with a certified financial planner or one of our webinars or anything. Everyone we work with receives a 250-page guidebook as a resource during the coaching, as well as a resource after we're done with them as well, because we know they're going to continue to have questions around their personal finances. So our only mission is to help you know, uh, those struggling in early widowhood. And as you recall, even though it was years ago, there were struggles, there were things you just don't know. And why would you, right? There's no classes.
Right.
You're never prepared for
There's
something
no
like
guidebook,
this.
as we say. Yeah,
There's
unfortunately.
really, there just isn't. And so to be able to come alongside someone grieving and struggling with so many questions, it's a very rewarding ministry.
And even though it's called Wings for Widows, not just for widows.
It is not just for widows. Yes, the name is a bit of a misnomer, but we're stuck with it. But we do service both men and women because, quite frankly, men are more timid, right? We don't ask for directions,
Yeah.
right? When we're lost, of course,
I
we have
wish you'd
GPS
change
today.
that.
I know. Well, it's the same way when we need help. We're just reluctant to, maybe we're embarrassed about it or feel guilty about it. And we don't ask for help. So, but they're starting to come through our door now. So the message is getting through that you need help too, and don't be
Wonderful.
embarrassed about coming and asking for it.
Well, before we go, can you share a story of maybe a life changed or someone who just breathed this huge sigh of relief because they found out about Wings for Widows?
Oh gosh, that's a great question, and that's what's so rewarding is getting the feedback from our clients once they've been through our coaching or have worked with us. We're getting that client, really on a weekly basis. But one of my favorite stories was a client that I got to work with about 3 years ago. Her name's Joe, and Joe had lost her husband after a very long illness, so the medical bills had really,
Mm,
really piled up. And since there was some self-employment going on, they also had lost their insurance. They really had no insurance. They were actually working with the Mayo Clinic. And unfortunately, all of that medical expertise did not save her husband. He died, and the medical bill that was left behind was about $235,000.
Goodness.
She had no idea what to do, how to pay it. And so I came alongside. We worked through all the normal things. And then I took her 4 pages of letter, this 4 page letter that she'd been working on and struggling on for months. And I said, this is a lot of information. Can I help you with this? So I rewrote the letter for her, and we sent that in. And it was about 2 months later, they had forgiven almost all of it.
Oh
It was
my
about
goodness.
$215,000 that they forgave. And if anybody with Mayo is out there, I hope that that's okay to say that. But
Yeah.
it was a wonderful gesture, and it was such a relief when you you talk. It was an
Yeah.
audible sigh. So much gratitude for coming alongside and helping her work through that situation. And she's one of our best advocates today as a volunteer with us, and is in a great financial position today and moving.
Wow. That's an incredible story. Chris Bentley, founder of Wings for Widows, our Ministry of the Month at KTIS. You can learn more, of course, on your website, wingsforwidows.org. I just heard you have a Facebook page too, Wings for Widows. And then, of course, there will be a link at myktis.com. Is there anything else that you wanted to add, Chris?
I would only add that if you've been newly widowed, ask for help, seek help. There's a great community out there that wants to help. And if there was ever a time in your life you needed help, it's probably now, and it's okay to ask.